Okay, item 5D, adoption of a resolution amending the district's investment policy. This is pages
29.
29, I think, through 36.
Mr. President, this is, we carried this forward from the last board meeting for further discussion by the board. The changes that are being proposed to the language are simply to make it consistent with other policies that I'm familiar with, that have been updated on an annual basis, reviewed by legal counsel. If the board did absolutely nothing with their policy, it's probably not gonna kill me. I mean, it hasn't been raised as an issue. It hasn't been raised as a flag by the auditors or anything else. It was just that it's been quite a period of time since an investment report that is in compliance with your policy has been submitted to the board. I mean, there's been financial reports every single month that tell you what cash you have and where that cash is. But the requirements of the government code and your policy are a little bit more detailed about what that report's supposed to contain. And in reality, the revised language doesn't really change that. So it is the pleasure of the board, whichever way you want to go with that. This, right now, currently, we invest, we have a small amount of our, or a portion of our fund balance reserve in LAIF, and the remainder of it is in a money market account. Ultimately, it would be advisable to the board for the district treasurer, which is the general manager, to have the authority to move more of that money into LAIF, just because the interest rate is about 10 times more. And LAIF is a local agency investment fund. It's listed in the policy as a place that's recognized to be able to invest the money of the district, and you can also get it back out of there. So it's liquid, it's got a better return. But it's, right now, we've got restrictions on by a different policy. We've got restrictions on the way that money goes to LAIF. That's why it stayed the same for so long. But we'll deal with that later. This policy specific, you can see the language that was added again. It simply was, the language that came out of there was just to make it consistent with other policies that I have great familiarity with. And other than that, it was just a timely matter that went on the agenda.
Okay.
Do you go to public first?
Comments?
I'm sorry,
Anybody?
go to the public now?
Yeah, I don't. First of all, I think your GM has got too much control of everything now. And so I wouldn't give him any more control, especially over my money. Secondly, I think you have policies that tell you to move money into LAIF, and we have not done it. And I'm not sure the money we've taken out of LAIF is all illegal throughout the years. That's some stuff that goes back. But, you know, the way this is presented really bothers me, and it's typical Campaism stuff. He says the staff analyzed it and thought it was a good idea to do it. I don't know what staff we got that could have done that. The auditor he's made some few comments, he's got a couple of pages in the audit, but he's approved it. He's approved it for years and years and years, the auditor with the different auditors. But of course, I'm not sure I like the auditor either. But there's certainly no reason there to change it based on the auditor. Danny's doing it just because he's seen other people do it differently, so he wants to do it. Nobody's analyzed step by step, nobody of knowledge with the skills and knowledge has actually analyzed it, whether it's good or bad. Danny's just comparing it to some other people, so he wants to change it so it looks like.
Wait, I'm confused, Danny, how did I get?
Danny, I'm sorry,
Pete.
Pete.
I was confused.
I'm
Like,
sorry,
I'm sorry, but I was going, okay.
I'm looking at
I
you.
never said that.
I'm looking at you and I apologize, that's not, I mean, Pete has asked for this to be changed
Okay.
because he's seen other people doing it differently.
Okay.
The auditor's happy, everybody's happy. I would suggest that maybe Pete be out there trying to find employees or something of that nature as opposed to correcting something that doesn't need to be corrected. And I certainly would not give your general manager treasurer any more responsibility over your money right now. He plans it, he finds the vendors, he decides the prices, he checks whether he received it or not, he signs it, or he can sign the checks. Someplace along the line, I cut my losses. You want to keep doing it this way, but I wouldn't add any more onto it.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, bring it back to the board.
Okay. Comment time, board? Yeah, it reminds me of something I heard a while back, that the best intentions do not guarantee the best results. But I think we have good intentions here. I was wondering why, you've been here 3 years, Pete, why you didn't bring this up sooner, because in the code it says every year. Just didn't have time or something? Didn't look at this or what?
I did not look at the investment policy, because we weren't moving money. I was not authorized to move any money out of LAIF or into LAIF by a separate policy of the district. I mean, compared that to another policy, that was to be, if money was only supposed to be moved in by action of the board. And I don't know when that occurred, but I think we should probably have that discussion on the agenda.
That, yeah.
The policy I was talking about is if there was any excess money at the end of the year, it went into a reserve. And the reserve would be going to LAIF.
There were restrictions, and it's even listed in the audit, that the general manager's not authorized to access the LAIF fund without authorization of the board. There's a specific statement in there. However, the investment policy, if you look at on page 31, section 3020.5, the delegation of authority in our current policy. So you got to look at the crossed out language down below, under the word draft, hidden by the word draft. Management responsibility for the investment program is hereby delegated to the general manager, who shall establish written procedures for the operations of the investment program consistent with this investment policy. Procedures should reference blah blah blah. It goes on and on. But I mean, basically, your policy currently already delegates the authority for the general manager to make the investments in a variety of different investments that then show up on page 32. And are a pretty expansive list of things to be invested in, and that's where this investment report is supposed to come out. In other words, there are some things in here that I would not even consider investing in. I would need outside guidance to even know what their potential investment returns were and risks and everything else. And LAIF is pretty much the investment choice of the district, but already this policy gives me the authority to move money from the money market into LAIF, but then we have another policy that restricts that. So, but Long and short, this policy proposal to change language doesn't give me more authority to do it. It's the same amount of authority. It just is
So-
written in a different
So
way.
my understanding, past, is that money cannot be taken out of LAIF unless approved by the board. Is that current or not? Is that correct, what I'm thinking or not?
It's correct, yeah.
Correct, okay. So this new policy that we're gonna adopt, does that stand or does that go away?
That other policy still exists until you
So you
consider
still-
it.
so you
It's in
cannot-
conflict with this,
Oh, so we could, okay.
with your current policy and with even the proposed changes.
So you would still have to get authorization from the board to remove from the LAIF with this policy, correct? Unless we change something. Yeah, the reason I bring it up, and it's just past history, and I know Wes knows, is that Sharice was living on the LAIF when we were going broke. That's what we were paying. It was never authorized by the board, but she was just paying the bills out of it because that's all we had, and at the time. And, you know, I would just want to make sure that the LAIF stays as solvent as it is, and it would never go down to zero or something. I think it's 600 or whatever. Hopefully, if we vote for this,
160.
whatever it is,
165.
whatever it is, that it doesn't go below that, you know, amount down to zero, because we have been to zero on that account, close to zero, you know, and it wasn't right, but that's all we had. But if we do this, I hope we would not take all the money out of that account to pay stuff, that it'll at least stay as solvent as it is today, and that the board would approve any removal from that unless something changes by the board. Is that correct?
Yeah, and the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm thinking we
Or
probably
you hate
should.
it?
Well, no, we should consider them all together.
Okay,
We should have them, all of the policy, and that's probably why I had them in the folder all together, is I had intended to have a conversation about all of them at the same time. Because why would we adopt,
something.
we already have a policy that's in conflict with that one. You can make withdrawals, you can't make withdrawals, okay? But even this policy change I'm proposing is still in conflict with it, so let's put them all on the table
Okay.
I agree.
together and have that
So
conversation.
the consensus, if the board is okay, we'll bring this back at
Back
another
again.
date when everything is together. And for me, I struggled with this as well because I'm not a financial person and I don't understand the ins and outs. So we really need to spend some time on an education. And if we need to bring a third party in, you know,
It's just a savings account.
I know, but
It's based in its simplest form.
well, I agree, but I would say if we need to bring in somebody to educate us from an, I'll say a third party where it's unbiased, I'm not opposed to that as well, again with the board. So the consensus is that we'll bring it back at a later date with all policies. All right? So with that, that concludes today's meeting. It is now 2:52 p.m. on April the 18th. Thank you very much, and everybody be safe and stay dry.
Thank you, Ken, for your, you stated what
Weren't they,